Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of Intuitive Angling. Really appreciate you guys taking some time to watch the video. And today we're going to basically talk about a subject that was a request from one of the subscribers wanting to know about how barometric pressure affects fish. So we're going to get into that. And actually I'm out here in the parking lot. Kim's doing some practicing or practice lifting for her competition that starts Saturday. So we've got a little time to kill. Then we're going to go out to Lake Mead a little bit later today, and I'm going to do some videos out there, so check in with that. So anyway, let's get into this barometric pressure, guys. Here's one of the things. I'm going to try to simplify this for you guys as much as I can. First of all, barometric pressure is just one variable as far as catching fish, and there's tons of variables that determine if a bass is going to bite or not, or if you can trigger that fish to bite. So just remember that you're not victim to barometric pressure. However, barometric pressure has a lot to do with the personality and the mood and the aggressiveness of the bass. There's three basic things you need to remember when you're talking about pressure. You got a high pressure system, which is usually, characterized by bright skies, that type of stuff, after a front. You've got a normal pressure system, which is usually just normal weather conditions where you're sort of not close or not, right after some type of frontal passage. Then you have a low pressure system or a low barometric pressure, which usually signals some type of major weather system coming in right before that. So what you have in this situation is you've got each one of these pressure systems affect the bass differently as far as their mood and maybe your approach to how you need to fish for them. Let's talk a little bit about the low pressure systems, falling pressure. Normally this is like the best time to bass fish, and it's normally when you have a low pressure, low barometric pressure. It's usually right before some type of a major frontal passage. It's usually characterized by like a southerly airflow, a lot of humidity in the air, temperatures a little bit warmer, you start to get some heavy overcast, maybe even some rain coming in. This is ideal situation. This is when bass get the most aggressive that you can catch them under, that you can find them in general. And when you have a low barometric pressure, take advantage of that. And the way you take advantage of that is by going with power baits and moving type baits that cause an aggressive reactive strike from the fish. So during a low pressure system, depending upon the water temperature you're fishing, this is when I like to fish those aggressive moving baits, chatter baits, spinner baits, crank baits, that type of stuff, maybe some big swim baits, jerk baits, all this type of stuff that trigger reaction strikes from the fish. The next set is when you have like a normal barometric pressure. Normally this is like several days after fronts come through, or you don't have a front approaching, normal weather conditions. Excuse me. Just and this is usually falls into most of the way that we fish, or most of the time falls into this normal pressure system. And when you're dealing with normal pressure system, this is when just your standard techniques and a diversity of things work. You can catch them fishing slow baits, you can catch them fishing moving baits, you can catch them fishing a wide range depending upon other factors such as like the water temperature, water level, the wind conditions, sky conditions, all that type of stuff. And the best thing that you can remember on that is fish the conditions as far as the immediate weather patterns that you have. So you may have a day like today where you've got some cirrus clouds out there, where you've got a normal pressure system, and there's going to be bite windows during the course of the day that will be more productive than others. But one of the things you have to remember about normal weather patterns, normal barometric pressure situations, is it opens up fish to be caught shallow, mid-depth, and deep, and also suspended and on the bottom. It's a wide range, a very diverse way to catch them. The bass are sort of in a neutral mode a little bit. They're feeding normally at night this time when the pressure's like this, but you still can trigger a lot of fish to hit out of reflex, curiosity, competition, that type of stuff. And the last one we'll talk about is a high barometric pressure. High pressure systems usually are characterized by right after the front, or normally maybe 2 or 3 days after the front, where you have a south wind that switches to the north or the east. You lose your clouds completely. It's a bluebird condition. It's bright. It's low humidity. These are high barometric pressure systems, and normally they can be some of the toughest conditions as far as to get the bass to bite, because the bass are not real aggressive as compared to a low pressure system. The way that you got to approach a high barometric pressure in this way, there's two different ways you can approach it. You can downsize and you can finesse fish. This is a great time to fish like a Ned rig, a drop shot, a shaky head, a jig, something slow on the bottom is one way to get them. And the second way to get them is through a fast reaction strike, like a lipless crankbait, burning a spinnerbait real fast, burning a crankbait real fast, something that generates something that keys their reflex part of their personality. Because a bass, even I don't care what condition it's going to be, a bass, when the lure comes past it real fast, they don't have time to react. They either have to get it or they have to decide not to get it. And sometimes during a high pressure system, is if you fish those really fast moving baits, you can get that reaction strike. But most of the time in a high pressure system, I like to slow down and finesse. This is when I really like to fish spinning tackle, small baits, slow baits on the bottom. So anyway, guys, that's just a foundational overview of how barometric pressure affects fish. Just remember that there's a lot of other factors that are more important, but this gives you a good indication of the mood of the bass. So sort of pay attention to that a little bit. So probably the biggest piece of advice I can give you guys on barometric pressure is when you get a low pressure system, take advantage of it and fish those big, aggressive moving baits, and that's when you're going to catch your biggest fish normally. So anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't. We'll talk later. See you.